Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is lighting up. Maybe it's you. And the last time it happened, you probably didn't think twice about it. You struck a flame, breathed in, and that was that. But what you did, that single act, is one of the oldest things a human being can do. It's older than writing, older than money, older than agriculture itself. And here's the part nobody ever tells you. The first humans who inhaled smoke weren't trying to get high. They weren't trying to heal anything. They were just trying to stay warm and keep predators away. Smoking as a deliberate act might have started as a complete accident. Think about that for a second. The oldest confirmed evidence of controlled fire used by our ancestors comes from Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa, dating back roughly 1 million years. Archaeologists found burnt plant ash and charred bone deep inside the cave. Not the remains of a wildfire, but of a sustained, contained fire, built and tended on purpose. That fire wasn't made by Homo sapiens. It was made by Homo erectus, our smaller-brained, heavy-browed ancestor. Every single night for hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors sat beside flames and breathed in smoke. It was constant. It was unavoidable. It was the original air quality crisis, and nobody had a way to check it. But some of that smoke wasn't ordinary. Certain plants release psychoactive compounds when burned, alkaloids and terpenes that interact directly with the human nervous system. The human brain has receptors built for exactly this kind of chemistry, part of the endocannabinoid system that regulates mood, memory, and appetite. So, when an early human first breathed in smoke from a burning psychoactive plant, their brain wasn't confused. It responded instantly. Somewhere, an ancestor sat downwind of the wrong bush and had an unexpectedly incredible evening, and never fully understood why. That accident may be the true root of every ritual, every ceremony, and every industry that followed. In 2019, a joint team from the Chinese Academy of Sciences and the Max Planck Institute excavated a 2,500-year-old cemetery called Jirzankal, sitting 10,000 feet up on the Pamir Plateau along the ancient Silk Road. Inside the tombs were 10 wooden braziers filled with burned stones. Researchers ran the residue through gas chromatography mass spectrometry, the same forensic technique used in modern crime labs, and found cannabinol in 9 of the 10 braziers. The plant material wasn't wild hemp. Its THC concentration was unusually high, meaning these ancient people were deliberately seeking out, or cultivating, a stronger strain specifically for ritual inhalation. Lead archaeobotanist Robert Spengler called it, in his own words, solid and unequivocal proof of humans using this plant as a drug. For a long time, this was treated as the earliest hard evidence of intentional smoking anywhere on Earth. And ancient writers had already described the same ritual without any laboratory at all. The Greek historian Herodotus, writing in the 5th century BC, described the Scythians of the Eurasian steppe crawling beneath small felt tents, throwing hemp seeds onto glowing stones, and inhaling the rising smoke until they, in his words, howled with pleasure. Historians assumed for centuries that he was exaggerating. Then archaeologists opened Scythian burial mounds and found exactly what he described: bronze braziers, heated stones, hemp residue. Herodotus wasn't inventing anything. If anything, he was underselling it. But the story of smoking is far bigger than one plant or one region, and it stretches across nearly every civilization that has ever existed. In ancient Egypt, the Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest medical documents in the world, dated to around 1550 BC, describes treating throat and lung conditions with the inhaled smoke of heated herbs, including henbane. To modern ears, that sounds backwards, treating a lung problem with smoke, but many of those herbs genuinely carried pharmacological effects when inhaled. In ancient Greece, Hippocrates, the physician whose name is still attached to a doctor's oath, wrote about inhaling herbal vapors to treat diseases of the lungs, reasoning that smoke reaches the lungs directly, so a medicinal plant delivered as smoke should act just as directly. In India, Ayurvedic medicine, dating back more than 3,000 years, described a formal practice called dhumapana, literally smoke drinking, inhaling specific medicinal herbs through pipes according to detailed centuries-old protocols. Across ancient China, Mesopotamia, and Central Asia, healers were doing some version of the same thing, turning smoke into medicine, long before anyone thought of it as a habit. And on the other side of the planet, an entirely separate tradition was unfolding. Tobacco, native only to the Americas, was completely unknown anywhere else on Earth until European contact in 1492. When Columbus landed in the Caribbean, his journal describes seeing men and women walking with small glowing sticks, inhaling smoke from burning dried leaves, and releasing it through their nose and mouth. His crew was baffled, then, within weeks, tried it themselves. But that moment in 1492 was nowhere close to the beginning. In 2019, researchers excavating a 12,000-year-old hearth in the Great Salt Lake Desert in Utah found seeds of Nicotiana attenuata, a wild tobacco species, concentrated in a pattern suggesting deliberate placement rather than accidental scattering. That single hearth pushed the possible timeline of tobacco use in the Americas back by thousands of years, long before pottery, long before any pipe had ever been carved. In the Americas, tobacco was never casual. It was sacred. Shamans used it to communicate with the spirit world, to bless agreements between tribes, to open what they believed was a channel between the living and the divine. Blowing smoke onto someone wasn't a bad habit. It was an act of respect, which raises the word that quietly followed smoke wherever it traveled: ritual. The connection between smoke and something greater than the self shows up almost everywhere humans have lived, and some anthropologists think that's not a coincidence. Psychopharmacologist Ronald Siegel proposed in the 1980s that the drive to alter consciousness is a fourth biological drive, sitting right alongside hunger, thirst, and sex, and that it isn't unique to humans at all. Elephants seek out fermented fruit. Reindeer in Siberia eat Amanita muscaria mushrooms, then drink the urine of other reindeer that ate them first, because the psychoactive compounds pass through intact. If the pull toward altered states runs that deep across the animal kingdom, it's not a stretch to imagine early humans deliberately choosing certain smoke long before they had pottery, agriculture, or writing to record why. That instinct wasn't just personal, it built communities. Humans evolved in groups, and group cohesion was often the difference between surviving and not. Shared rituals, including shared inhalation of smoke around a fire, created trust and synchrony that modern neuroscience can now measure directly, showing that group ritual activity synchronizes brain activity and deepens social bonds. The smoke circle wasn't a party. It was infrastructure that held early human groups together. For most of human history, that infrastructure stayed intact. Smoke stayed medicine. Smoke stayed sacred. Smoke stayed measured. And then Europe got its hands on it. When tobacco reached Europe in the 16th century, it spread with startling speed. By the 1600s, it was traded globally. By the 1700s, snuff was fashionable across European aristocracy. By the 1800s, cigars were everywhere. By the early 1900s, the industrially manufactured cigarette had arrived, engineered to be cheaper, faster, and more addictive than anything smoked before it. What indigenous cultures had spent thousands of years turning into a disciplined, ritualized, sacred practice was converted in the hands of European industrialists into a mass-market product within roughly 4 centuries. Then came the part of the story with no ritual left in it at all. Through the 20th century, tobacco companies spent decades and billions of dollars suppressing internal research linking cigarettes to cancer. They marketed to children. They paid doctors to endorse their products. They engineered cigarettes chemically to hit the brain faster and harder, maximizing addiction on purpose. A shaman placing cannabis on heated stones in a 500 BC burial, and a tobacco executive signing off on a 1960s marketing campaign both technically worked with smoke. Almost nothing else connects them. So when did ancient humans start smoking? The honest answer is we don't fully know, and we may never know for certain. The physical evidence takes us back with confidence roughly 12,000 years, and with reasonable speculation, possibly far further. Organic material like dried leaves and wooden pipes rarely survives in the ground the way stone tools do, so absence of proof has never meant proof of absence. What we do know is that the desire behind smoking, to alter the mind, to heal the body, to bond a group together around a fire in the dark, is almost certainly older than any artifact archaeologists have pulled from the earth. It may be as old as fire itself. Today, that same instinct still exists in every corner of the world, expressed 1,000 different ways, from ceremony to addiction to habit. Every time you strike a flame and breathe in, you're not doing something new. You're doing something ancient, something that predates your language, your government, and possibly your entire species as we currently define it. You're just breathing, the way humans always have.